June 4th, 1942. Over the vast, empty Pacific, the fate of the Second World War hangs on a razor's edge. The American fleet is outnumbered. Their pilots are flying blindly over the vast Pacific, running low on fuel, desperately searching for the Japanese carriers. If the Americans don't find the enemy first, they lose the war. Historically, this battle was decided by pure luck, a stray cloud, a hunch by a squadron commander. It was a coin toss that saved a free world. But what if we take luck out of the equation? What if, instead of a squadron of lost dauntless dive bombers, the US Navy had just one F-35 Lightning II, a fifth-generation stealth fighter that costs more than the entire 1,942 US naval budget combined? The Japanese Zero fighters down below are looking for movement. They are looking for shapes. But the F-35 is a ghost. It has a radar cross-section the size of a golf ball. The Japanese fleet won't even know it's there until the first deck explodes. But here is the problem. You are the pilot. You have one tank of fuel. You have 2 bombs. And you have 4 targets that need to die. Who do you strike? And can you escape before you run out of fuel in the middle of the Pacific Ocean? Let's arm the weapons and rewrite history. To really get what a single F-35 could do, you have to understand the sheer desperation of June 1942. 6 months after Pearl Harbor, the Imperial Japanese Navy was on a roll, and they set sail for Midway Atoll to do one thing: lure out and destroy what was left of America's Pacific Fleet. Admiral Yamamoto's force was colossal, led by the 4 veteran carriers of the Kidō Butai, Akagi, Kaga, Soru, and Hiru. They carried nearly 250 of Japan's best naval aircraft, including the legendary A6M0. In early 1942, the Zero was a world beater, outturning and outranging any Allied fighter it met. Against this juggernaut, the United States scraped together what it had. Admiral Chester Nimitz had 3 carriers: Enterprise, Hornet, and the hastily patched-up Yorktown, which was literally still leaking oil from the last battle. Now, if you count the planes based on Midway Island itself, the Americans had a slight numerical edge, but it was hardly an advantage. Japanese pilots were more experienced, and their planes were, for the most part, better. But Nimitz had an ace up his sleeve: codebreakers. American intelligence knew Midway was the target, and Nimitz set a trap. The problem? An ambush in 1942 was a fragile thing. It meant sending out scout planes over hundreds of miles of ocean, just hoping to spot an enemy that was trying very hard to stay hidden. The battle began with a sacrifice. The American torpedo bombers, the TBD Devastators, were tragically slow, and their weapons were junk. Of the 41 Devastators sent from the carriers that morning, only 6 came back. But their doomed suicidal charge did something incredible. It pulled the Japanese Zero fighter patrols down to the waves, leaving the skies above the carriers completely exposed. So when the American SBD Dauntless dive bombers showed up just after 10 a.m., they found the ultimate prize: the Japanese carriers, decks packed with fueled and armed planes, totally vulnerable. In 5 minutes of smoke, fire, and chaos, 3 of Japan's finest carriers were turned into flaming wrecks. It was a victory of intelligence, guts, and a hell of a lot of luck. Now, let's take luck out of the equation. The Lockheed Martin F-35 Lightning II isn't just a jet. It's a 5th-generation, flying supercomputer. Comparing it to a World War II fighter is like comparing a spear to a sniper rifle. First, their stealth. To the primitive radar sets of the 1942nd, the F-35 would be practically non-existent. It wouldn't be a faint blip. It would be nothing at all. The jet can hit a top speed of Mach 1.6, around 1,200 miles per hour, and operates at altitudes over 50,000 feet, a height where a Zero's engine would have long since given up. But the F-35's real superpower is information. The pilot is plugged into a sensor fusion system that gives them a godlike view of the world. Its radar, infrared sensors, and electronic warfare systems all merge into a single, real-time map of everything in the air and on the sea for hundreds of miles around. And then there's the firepower. A World War II pilot had to get within a few hundred yards to open fire. The F-35 carries AIM-120 AMRAAM missiles that can destroy a target from over 100 kilometers away long before the 1942 pilot would even know they were in a fight. For ships, it has GBU-31 JDAMs, 2,000-pound guided bombs that can be dropped from the edge of space to hit a specific spot on a target. While hitting a maneuvering ship isn't a guaranteed pinpoint strike against a 1,940 carrier, it's more than accurate enough to be utterly devastating. In 1942, combat was a visual, visceral duel. For the F-35, it's a series of icons on a screen, engaged and destroyed from an impossible distance with cold, digital precision. Let's put our pilot in the cockpit, 45,000 feet above the Pacific. The mission isn't to dogfight, it's to decapitate the enemy. First job, reconnaissance. Forget waiting for a scout plane to get lucky. The F-35 pilot just sweeps the area with radar. Within minutes, there it is on the screen. The entire Kidō Butai, 4 big ships in a box formation with their escorts. A simple voice call to the American fleet with the exact coordinates is all it takes. The ambush is no longer a gamble, it's a sure thing. Next, air defense. As the first wave of over 100 Japanese planes heads for Midway, the F-35 sees them gathering on its display. No need for a messy dogfight. The pilot selects a few AIM-122s and assigns them to the lead bombers. The missiles drop from the belly of the jet and vanish, silently accelerating toward their targets miles away. For the Japanese pilots, it's sheer terror. 1 second, they're in perfect formation. The next, their leader's plane simply vaporizes. No warning, no enemy in sight. Just a flash of light and a ball of fire. Before the strike package is even halfway to the island, it's been shredded by an invisible killer, its attack broken. With the Japanese attack wave shattered, our pilot turns to the main event, the carriers. Down on the flagship Akagi, Admiral Nagumo is getting baffling reports of planes exploding for no reason. But historically, he was about to make a fatal mistake, ordering his reserve aircraft to be rearmed for a second strike, leaving bombs and fuel all over the hangar decks. This time, he never gets the chance. Climbing back to the stratosphere, the pilot designates the Akagi and Kaga. 2 2,000-pound GBU-31 bombs begin their silent fall from 7 miles up. Down below, lookouts scan the horizon, but they're looking for dive bombers, not 2 tiny specks falling from the heavens. By the time anyone could possibly see them, it's already over. A World War II carrier was a floating tinderbox of fuel and explosives. A single JDAM punching through the flight deck and detonating in the hangar bay wouldn't just damage the ship, it would break its back. The Akagi is ripped apart from the inside out by a chain reaction of explosions. A moment later, the same thing happens to the Kaga. Before the American dive bomber pilots have even reached the target coordinates, half of Japan's carrier force is already sinking. The F-35 then turns its attention to the Soru and Hiru. A few more passes, a few more precision strikes, and the result is the same. The carriers are left burning and helpless on the water. Bottom line, from 40,000 feet, the pilot watches 4 plumes of black smoke mark the graves of an empire's naval power. The remaining zeros circle uselessly, their floating homes gone. They have nowhere to land. The Battle of Midway, one of the most hard-fought and pivotal moments in history, is over before it ever really started. The heroic sacrifice of the torpedo pilots is averted. The courage of the dive bomber crews is never called upon. Their names are never written into the history books for that day, because the battle wasn't won by them. It was won by a machine.